Hello, one and all. Thank you all for humoring me for a few moments as we gather ourselves for a visit down the rabbit hole into the insanity that is Thornton Township, into the smoldering husk and ruin of what once was, where the various south suburbs have held their own domain and demesnes unto themselves, where recently that all of that has changed and there is a new normal in the offing, where powers that were and powers that sought to be are now scrabbling for the erection of their own domains, places where they can hold themselves inviolably in charge of their futures. It has been almost a full month since our last get together, and I want to thank you guys for making it and being here. As we prepare to dive in, are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses? Any corners we need to round off? All right. Well, Muzan is running a bit late due to work, and we won't have the gift that is Frost presently. Being as everything, being as Dia's plans are hinging solely on the conversation with Seth, let's take a few moments, if you both are amenable, and set the scene. Now, is this a conversation that's solely between Seth and Dia, or is this a conversation that they would not have minded other ears of their coterie members being present?
I'm deferring to Seth because he's the one that wanted the meeting, so I don't know whether what he has to tell me would be open to somebody else's ear.
Mark Clarion, you pulp and Jay, would this meeting be private or would it be for the privacy of your coterie? Did we lose you?
Is that Harridan standing right next to me, or is this what's going on in my head?
That's what's going on in your head.
Oh, okay. No, I'm amenable to Zach being present. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. And if Muzan were present, unless Muzan wanted me to know, I wouldn't know. But it is going to be a come to Jesus meeting kind of deal, where Seth is going to lay a whole bunch of shit out on the table and see what stinks.
Okay, so as the revelers, the partiers, the social combatants that have arrived at the summons of Erzuli via Dia, who've come to lay themselves out and to find where the boundaries of what will be, make their way out of the Piscateers. And Erzuli finds herself a suite to alight in, thankful of the hospitality granted by another member of the most prestigious clan that there possibly could be, the most stylish at least. And Frost is doing his run through the jungle, imitating and mimicking a young adult novel about vampires and shapeshifters who call themselves werewolves. While all of that is taking place, Frost and Dia and Seth settle, much like the parents after a child's birthday party that has stretched far into the morning hours, where there has been enough cases of beer consumed and bottles of alcohol that not only are the children still asleep in their beds, but the adults are matching that tiredness by falling asleep in the various lounge chairs and places around the home. The after party of the party, with bottles spilled and people passing out where they are, the tiredness that comes from having to socially engage on such a level that empires could have fallen. The coterie settles into the back bankhead, the prestigious table that looks over the entirety of the actual Piscateers. And the conversation begins. You have a moment of privacy. You have a moment of just you all being present. What is most pressingly on McLaren's mind?
For the love of everything that was too much. Squabbling, backbiting, useless, self-centered miscreants. You took all their brain cells, made them into marbles, and put them in a can of soup and it would rattle. We're in trouble. Dear and glory.
Trouble? No way. I never would have guessed.
Look, Spiky. Not above running you in. I still have handcuffs somewhere. Oh my god. All of them. Every single one of them, ignoring everything that's going on. Just for a couple of chairs at the table. Not realizing that there's gasoline on the table and they're all playing with matches. Every single one of them.
What else is new?
I just don't understand them at all at this point.
What's not to understand? They're all looking out for themselves. They just saw the strongest motherfuckers in town all get slaughtered, and now they see two things. Number one, they're in danger, and number two, they've got opportunity.
I don't think they see they're in danger. I mean, honestly, did you get the idea that any one of them thought that tomorrow could be their last day? Every single one of them is planning for the next decade. The only people seeming to keep their eye on the prize of, oh, I don't know, psychotic cultists, Bahari, a blood war, and a fucking tower incursion are coming? I've been with the tower my whole life. And when they come, because it's not an if, not with the Prince of Chicago involved, it's when. They're going to come in such a way that none of these people will see another sunrise. They could, the tower right now, looking at Thornton, they could rule the whole lot of us Sabat and burn us to the ground and rebuild on the ashes. I think it's in our best interest. I think it's the smart play. Honestly, to pick a horse, back it, but make our own plans based solely on the idea that everything that is accomplished in the near future is temporary.
When you say pick a horse and back it, are you saying pick the Camarilla?
No. I love the tower, and I'll serve the tower until it burns to the ground. But this is Thornton, and it'll never stick. If somebody tries to declare praxis, or we back somebody trying to declare praxis, that would pretty much spell the end for all of us in the town. On a lucky day, we'd be able to escape to Chicago. On a bad day, they'd never find us.
Yeah, I don't think escaping to Chicago is a good idea.
Well,
I've been there before and tell you, there's some shit in there you don't want to deal with. None of you even know about.
I don't want to deal with the Camarilla in Chicago. They scare the crap out of me. They're tense. I mean, I have Decker in my portfolio already. I don't need Dussault and all the headaches that are going on in Chicago. But Thornton needs to realize that they're a real probability. So we need to pick somebody who has a strong opinion and already has some backing and move them forward.
And why not our good friend Dia?
I'm afraid that whoever gets moved forward is going to be on the list for the Bahari or the Tower. I don't want to, Senator. I think you'd make a great leader for a free Dalton, but I just don't think the next leader of Dalton is going to be sitting in the chair long enough to get it warm.
Apparently, you weren't saying that much of something because a leader has already been chosen. Did you not see Decimal? He is declaring himself ruler right now. Not prince, but yes, warlord or whatever you want to call it, of our city. Apparently, this entity that killed the others left him alive for a reason. Whether it's advocacy or future planning, I don't know. But he seems to think I set all this up. Or that I had Jennifer killed due to some strange backward convoluted Machiavellian scheme. Half of the things I didn't even know what the fuck was going on, but just because he was here and then went there does not mean that it was our fault. And that's what I was supposed to make known, and he's not listening to that. Yeah, it's his mind set up to keep an eye on us. But I don't think that's what it is you came to have talk to us about. Something tells me there's more, and I need to know why it is you and Cone had a fight outside. Rick, sorry. I don't want to say all the Tremere like a lag, but
Seth, let's go of some of his frustration and remember what he looks like and the pantomime that he perpetrated on his return from his impromptu meeting, and looks appropriately abashed. You're absolutely right, Senator. I should have started with what the Tremere had to say away from other ears. My frustration got the better of me. The internal need to feed Vu and her little creature into a wood chipper, primarily. But you're right. I can tell you that the Tremere as a whole are thinking the same that I am individually, in that loud and public declarations are going to paint targets on people. And they are going to back a horse, and they're going to help that horse advance. But they're going to make as sure as magically possible that their fingerprints aren't on a damn thing. He has offered that they may, if logic dictates and the winds of change hold true, that they back whatever back whatever play you make as a senator as a very, very quiet, probably invisible, silent partner. And I would be the face of that help. But there would be nothing tying them to me in this in any way. So I think we can... I mean, he made it very clear that he wanted me to look like I had been adjusted after we had our talk. And not to put too fine a point on it, in Tremere circles, how and what we discussed, it was more than your passive dressing down. But the Tremere are in the long game. They're making what alliances they need to get through. I'd imagine the timescale he's thinking is 6 months to a year for things to settle out. And then they'll make more public headway. But their efforts right now are going to be bent against our housemate. They want to find out what he did and how he did it. And if possible, undo it. So they're going to be distracted. And it's my job to make it seem that distraction is total. So there will be times in public where I behave oddly.
You, God.
You know, the sarcasm doesn't help. I mean, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. Senator's always funny, but it hurts a little, I won't lie. I just want us to have a plan for the short term. And to be honest, if we're up to me, I'd feed every senator and baron I met tonight into a wood chipper. Obviously, Vu and Felix would go first, but yeah, all of them. Just all of them. They'd all drive me insane. They're all so blind. And maybe it's because I'm young and I haven't lived a century, but what's happening now is important. And they all seem to have lost any kind of focus or way to see the short term. And in the short term, whoever we back won't be the leader of Thornton. They will be the figurehead of Thornton underneath whatever is wearing the Tony Cabanera suit that is currently living in Zach's room.
And to be perfectly honest, I no longer care what happens to some of my old so-called friends.
I think Zach said it best. We don't have to like who we pick, but I think we need to pick somebody.
So since you seem so adamant about not having the Bahari in charge, I'm guessing Urzuli's out of the question.
Frankly, I'm more scared of Decibel than Arzuli. Decibel was already a baron in the middle of Dalton Township. But I think that also makes him, power-wise, the strongest candidate. You had conversations with him more than I have.
Me?
No, the senator.
Yeah. He decided it is better for us to stay out of each other's way. I'm going to let him do his thing, and he is going to warn me should he decide that I should be killed. That's what I got from that conversation. But, again, if he wants to take target comes back, I will hand him the paintbrush happily. And smile as he does so, making sure he misses not one spot.
Well, I mean, that's flattering if nothing else. I mean, Arzuli nearly dislocated a hip sucking up to you, and Decibel admitted some level of jealousy of your standing. So that's two of the biggest actors in the area saying you're in their weight class. I think it's a coin flip. Or, I mean, we could be very Ventrue and Tremere about this and pit the two against each other.
I thought we needed a unified front.
Exactly. I like it really too much to see that attempt to scatter the spread. Not that I think this would go down without a fact, mind you. But okay, so she's already in a few trouble and drama, but really feeling can be kind of bother for Decibel. That would be more interesting.
So does anybody else have an opinion on, I mean, just looking at who's left is sadness, really. But
speaking of which, how about we actually quantify who exactly is left that's worth backing? We know Decibel and Arzuli, but who else is left?
Well, you've got Vu and Felix, but they seem to be of two minds for the first time in any time I've ever seen them. I don't know how coherent and cohesive they are currently. Naomi's off the hook for the trial with the death of Geneva. So Naomi's an active possibility again. We've got... Go ahead.
And then there is Blake.
Well, would she want to give up her position that she holds to add a second front to her lifestyle? I mean, she seems pretty content dealing with what she has. But I guess she has to be on the list.
But then there's the whole kick everybody that's not Dalton out of Dalton, keep everybody that's not Dalton as a Dalton, and do it in the most forceful manner possible. that doesn't sound like some sort of wartime leader. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And how about the Riverdale side of things? Now that the map's been redrawn, we're basically all one big happy family. We have Rich, who I really have to say has no intention of jumping into that meat grinder. We have Faustina and Seferino. I don't know the last two very well, but they're the only parents that I know held it together.
Seferino and I might have a bit of tension between us. He's seen in the past. He thinks I did something I don't remember whether I did or not. It upset him somehow, so I don't think we can entirely catch on him, but we can't count him out as a possible ally later. But as far as him wanting to be a leader or something, he's happy being a baron, having his own area. I don't think he wants to be ruler over all. No.
So I think that completes the list of anybody who would have a chance, considering the opposition. Vu hasn't made any overtures of wanting it. Felix is playing some pretty serious mind games, and they seem to be not maybe direct in contravention of Vu's mind games, but they're not playing the same game right now. I don't think Naomi has the clout. I mean, she has support in the kind infrastructure, but after the trial, I just don't think she has the... What do the venture call it? Damn it. Dignitas left within the city. She couldn't get the votes. Blake and Lee, maybe. She might have the votes. She has the currency to buy as many votes as she wants. The problem would be A, finding out whether she actually wants them, or B, whether we can convince her that she wants them.
Well, that is a good point. So that still kind of ties into some plans that I had myself in befriending the king to a point, and keeping my friends close and my enemies possibly even closer. I don't want her to be an enemy of mine, but if as long as she is within arm's reach, should things go terribly, all the quicker the mistake in it. I know Bridget feels much the same, and she can't wait until somebody slips up and blatantly to take us out, but I plan on not dying that time. I don't know about you.
There is an unrelated matter that is also worth mentioning. Well, somewhat unrelated. It is clear that or at least to me, it is clear that my roommate has plans for me. So we might want to prepare ourselves for the possibility that I might be compromised.
Seth looks a little shamed and then gets a very Batman-like look on his face. The idea of your compromise has floated across my brain once or twice already. And he quickly takes a swig from his whiskey flask.
As the whiskey coats your throat, sliding past the tongue with the practiced toss of a person who's grown up in a family where drinking is not only a rite of passage, but a rite of making it through the day. The whiskey nearly trampolines back up and out of your throat as you realize, sitting there, slowly materializing, sinking into view like something being rinsed into existence, is Calabalarshi. And while you know that an apparition of such skill requires a significant amount of energy, sitting at the very nuclear reactor that is the Piscateers, that energy abounds. I just figured you all should know, I don't fucking lie, so I'm gonna put this out here to you. Whatever you do in the next year, unless of course you do it all together, is going to fuck up everything I have planned, because I really have a good idea about who you guys are, and I kind of hope that you all, each and individually, get what you deserve. So to make things easy on you, to remove the idea that I am working against you, I really don't care what you do. I just know that if you all don't work together, it will fuck up my plans, which will make me upset, and I will have to act in kind. However, as long as you all decide what the fuck you're gonna do, I don't care. I will give you my word that I have to keep my word for a year and a day from the other day. So you got that much time to get the honest truth out of me when I choose to answer you. And for the record, this is a gestation. There are things that are growing and happening just beneath your notice that will assure me of nothing but outright success. I am plotting and planning for most eventualities. I need someone to be the figurehead for when Chicago comes true. That's all I need him for. Someone to misdirect, point the attention to. And once that's over, well, Thornton Township, with all of my moves, with all of my efforts, will be a good place to lay low for at least a decade, maybe two. So, as I need to rest, and he rests a hand on Zach, and we need to finalize a few things, and the party's over, I think it's time for this conversation to come to an end. Time for the lights to go out, and all of us good little monsters to die for the day. And he stands up from the table, and you realize that he is dressed in a honest to goodness Hilton robe, the crest emblazoned on the left chest pocket, the robe clearly of at least a 300 or more thread count, the whiteness and brightness of it signifying that it has never been used, or at least has been kept in a state of appearing that it has never been used. Completing his ensemble, the tied robe, the sash hanging oh so tastefully, stylishly, is a pair of black bunny slippers, one ear on the left foot bent at a slightly odd angle as if it has been well used and well loved. If you all will excuse us, I think there's some things that we need to work out before we no longer have the ability to work things out. And he taps Zach's hand, allowing his hand to rest there a moment longer. The warmth inherent in him, indistinguishable from the heat of something actually alive, something actually breathing, something actually not a endless void of monstrosity. So as Zach
Well, if we are finished here, I believe I can spare a moment or two.
And as they begin moving back towards Zach's room, he waves over his shoulder towards the rest of the coterie and says, "Hope you guys have a good death." And the door closes, and the sounds of two people doing their absolute best to express what they not only have been bombarded with emotionally, but what they hope to use to wash away the distaste of condemnation, the act of forming a nation unto themselves, where their pleasures and their security, their safety is all that matters. And that was little more than a few weeks ago at the Piscateers. And with that being the foundation of where we are, the things that have happened in between, I'd like to thank you all for sharing this time with me. This, with all questions asked, answered, and returned in kind, with all corners rounded. This is officially In the Shadow of the White City. Season 5, Episode 3, In a Lonely Field. Much like the plotting and planning of the coterie, things did fall in their way. The boundaries of one domain abutting another. Friendships, or at least working relationships, falling more into the standard. Disagreements abounding as everything that changes causes the growing pains of the nation that is Thornton Township. The realization that despite Dalton's place as the capital city of Thornton Township, that Riverdale was just as fraught with political machinations, that the other suburbs, the other villages and townships, and the other small nomenclatures of humanity have their own insidious politicians willing to do everything they can to assure that their voices are held, that their territory remains their own. Twice in the last few weeks, Calabalarshi has paid visits to several of the other villages, the other towns, the other small suburbs. Often, there's news that's been spread of someone who has been around a few decades or a century even, no longer being amongst you. It is clear that for all of his actions to lay many low, he leaves enough power to maintain the infrastructure of those regions, having them swear fealty to the capital city, having them swear fealty to the notion that Thornton Township is a nation of nations united under one banner. And so far, in the public understanding of who the power is in Thornton Township, there has been one voice and one name. His livery, a series of browns and earth tones. His name, Decibel, the Voivode of the South. And as word spreads and people toe the line dictated by Calabalarshi, his strength grows by the day. And we open with the coterie waiting news from Frost's visit to Milwaukee, as you all have had to, on several theaters, maintain your stance, to not retreat, to not surrender, to not back away from the understood boundaries that are the Piscateers, that are Senator White's domain. The most recent being a small gang who thought that the Clan of the Rose aren't really all that important. We can easily slide into this area and take because after all, you keep what you kill. And the only way to change your view is to kill the dog in front of you. So once more at the bankhead at the back of the Piscateers, which is in full bloom, which is in full business, we have the coterie gathered, invisibly watching, because in the few short weeks, a certain stylistic suggestion from Razuli, a two-way mirror blocking off the bankhead so that you all could exist and watch what happens without being watched yourselves. And you can monitor and operate with knowledge aforehand of what happens in the Piscateers. The office upstairs left predominantly for show so that the humans above have no reason to actually interact unless, of course, they already know about the Piscateers.
Seth was slamming closed the last of the files from his office, cutting a demand of payment from yet another bored housewife thinking her husband was cheating on her. Turns out he was just gay. But it's the end of McLaren investigations for the foreseeable future. He's a little grumpy. He's got a bottle of bourbon next to him, an ashtray with several cigarettes knocked out in it.
He looks over at Seth, having just talked to one of the newer employees and given them some more direction about how to interact with their customers. Over the present work, monitor, just making sure things run smoothly, looking at Seth, you do realize one of these days you're going to spill a little of that drink on yourself, and all you need is a little spark and then peace. Tinder.
Just wanted to be a quiet little Camarilla vampire. Have my little PI office. For a decade. I wasn't asking for the world. For a fucking decade. And the fact that you're finding humor in this is not helping.
Try. The life of the party, the most fashionable, most whispered about party girl for nigh on several decades, only to be battled with death.
Well,
An honorary detective.
Well, if it helps at all, I still think you're a fashionable party girl. You're just also a senator and have paperwork to do.
No.
Who would have thought someone like me would have entered the world of politics?
You're built for it.
Embrace together, but
What way do you figure?
I have seen you go into a room full of very angry, very scared vampires and calm them all almost simultaneously. I walk into a room and they're all reaching for their guns. It's just unfair. Muzan is the only one who's getting away with anything. He gets bored with this crap, he just goes invisible and we don't see him for a week.
See, there's perks to being ugly.
Yeah, you keep saying ugly. I think you did that shit to yourself deliberately just so you can make it so people don't want to talk to you.
I'll never tell.
So, kind business is done. Frost has been up north for a few days and has managed not to kill every single coke dealer around my domain, which, Yay. Decibel is definitely coming out up front. I mean, we guessed right. We guessed the 2 horses to watch, and one of them won. If we were at Boston Downs, we'd walk out of here with a winning ticket.
Tell me, how much do you guys actually like Decibel?
He scares the unholy crap out of me. Not because he's a dragon. I mean, that's creepy. What they can do, creepy. But he wields power so quietly and so poisoned. I'm impressed, and I'm a Tremere.
In the last few weeks, to further add fuel to the fire, Decibel has been enlisting. And one of his chief hounds, one of his chief enforcers, has, while namelessly assigned as just her, is a half-Asian woman of African descent, long, dark hair, braided and usually kept behind her back. She is built like a brick shithouse, nothing but muscle and leanness. She makes appearances here and there, and things begin to fall in Decibel's way. This unnamed hound of what people are calling the Boavad of Thornton Township now strikes a chord of enmity with Seferino. Nothing so openly disruptive as fisticuffs at dawn or anything like that, but there is a clear enmity he has. There's something to be said about the strength of silence, but that silence from Seferino, as one of the few remaining formerly Tower game groom who has chosen a barony that not only abuts the Piscateers, acts as a support to it between him and his right-hand lieutenant, who very much is still a member of the Tower, yet serves a baron openly. Zach's grandsire, the suave and directly spoken poet. And there is a trouble brewing as Seferino and him clearly have an issue with at least one of the Voivod's cabinet. Naomi's efforts to assist with the expansion of the nation of Thornton Township brings with it several issues that you all are aware of that not many people have caught on. A good portion of the properties she's held further south of Thornton are rife with Dustborn and Thinblood and Caedus and various unaligned and autarchist thinking individuals. And while they believe that they are autarchist, it's simply because they usually have not been tested. They are neither strong enough nor old enough to hold their ground. Yet they are embedded like bed bugs. They have contacts and resources and associates. And to add injury to insult of all of this turmoil, View and Felix have not openly aligned with Decibel. They have been remaining relatively quiet. Their nation of churches and cults spread through the south suburbs are equally as rife as the aforementioned bedbugs. They have a network that is poised or could be utilized or weaponized that would undermine almost anyone. And you all sit as the gateway into Thornton Township. You all sit as the entertainment center of Thornton Township. And Silk from from Gary has taken over her childer's jewelry store, has moved into Thornton Township.
Wait, Silk's what? I'm asking as a player.
Has an operation begun not far enough away to be outside of your domain, but close enough to be in contention with the entertainment that the Piscateer offers in regards to both feeding and attracting attention to itself.
But it's a you said a childer of Silk?
Mm-hmm. You forgot Tywin already.
I didn't forget. I honestly thought Silk would retreat from Thornton and let that shit happen while she was dealing with Gary. I underestimated her ambition. That was my fault. Oh, craptastic.
So, we bet on one winning horse, and it seems they've already won, so why don't we formally bet on him? Because I know we said between Decibel and Urzuli it would be one of those two, and frankly, I like Urzuli, so I don't want her to win, because like you all said, whoever wins gets a target painted on them.
Yeah, it's meat grinder time.
So yeah, let's keep Urzuli alive, and let's say we support Decibel. Seems like a smart idea to bet on the obvious winning horse to begin with anyway.
With Decibel's crazy hit girl going after Seferino, a formal declaration might be problematic. I mean, I'm not against it.
With who's doing what now?
They call her. I mean, they don't even give her a name, which is just insane. Because that works to Decibel's favor. It just makes her scarier. But she's been making noise over in Seferino's territory, and he's like right next to us. And not to lie, but I like having a gang role.
So you want to support Seferino?
I'm scared of making any real formal declaration because none of them are safe. I do think that we should invest some effort into keeping Urzuli going. I did like her way better than Urzuli, or than Decibel, but I don't think Decibel sees her as a threat anymore. I don't think she's in direct, immediate danger. But, I mean, throwing her a lifeline, making her a partner or something, but declaring directly for Decibel means our gang friend will have to make a decision. And I don't know whether we can count on him making a decision that'll make us happy.
So here's the thing. If we don't openly declare for someone, everyone's gonna see that as either we're too weak to make a decision and stick with it,
or that we're plotting something,
or they're assuming that we're already in bed with all their enemies, and so everyone becomes our enemy. We need to make a definitive decision about who we're backing here.
I see what you're saying. I understand. I don't like it. I don't think...
Neutrality, it's nice and all, but it's gonna get us killed.
Yeah, the only people who pulled that off were the Swiss. And I think that was mainly because all the Venture that fucking lived there. So,
Yeah,
I
see,
mean-
the Swiss, it worked because they had a bunch of other nations around them making a bunch of noise instead of them. They kept quiet. Us, on the other hand, that ain't exactly an option when we've got Tony Calabalarshi upstairs. You know, the guy who murdered half the Senate.
yeah, I should at some point stop calling him Carbonara, huh?
I don't even know where that name came from.
It's a kind of pasta. I thought it was funny. You know, given his accent. It's got peas in it. It's not bad.
I haven't had the pleasure of it.
Sadly, we never will. So, I mean, in a rare moment of luck, we do have the Nosferatu directly to our south. The barony of the Nosferatu? It's right there. Aren't they saying anything useful? Or are they hiding in their warrens and not coming the fuck out until shit squares up?
I'm honestly not sure, because good old Dan has yet to formally introduce me to the rest of the family yet. We're still working on that whole transition into being the leader of Dalton's Nosses.
Senator, you haven't put the thumb to your boyfriend to make sure he makes all the introductions?
And while you look towards Dia, Zach, looking at the sales for the last few weeks of the miracle you managed to pull off, the branding for the Rosie was solely yours. It's one of the few things that were 100% yours. The property, which you realize you own the building, you own the club, but the property line, all of the mineral rights, the plot of land, all of the electricity and sound and everything else is in Drew's name. He is technically a 50% owner because he provides all that the building itself needs to operate. You pulled off a miracle. Instead of waging a war or fighting a battle, you simply picked up stakes and moved the Rosie. It is effectively the best live music venue in Dalton, and it is directly across the man-made creek. To get to the Rosie, you have to understand where the Piscateers is, which is a great business market, great business strategy. It is the best, livest, wildest, most raucous place to enjoy the best music that you possibly could, and people have not come. They are still going to the Rosies too. You are still receiving your proceeds and your share of the profit. In fact, Drew has reached out twice asking, what is it exactly you think you're doing? Those late night texts, instead of it being you up, it's, what is it you think you're doing? It's, are you serious? It's, why don't you stop by and talk to me? And the most incendiary of them all, without me, you are going to fail. Talk to me. So sitting looking at the text, sitting looking at the proceeds, sitting looking at the fact that you were able to literally do the unimaginable in less time than it takes most people to actually complete their resume. You moved an entire club. You moved its reputation, because that is yours. That is part and parcel of who and what you are. But the money's not showing up. Its proceeds don't amount to what the Rosie can do on a Good Friday night currently. But at least it's there.
And that makes Zach a little suspicious. He's beginning to suspect there's more going on than what's being implied. But at the same time, he no longer trusts Drew enough to talk to him. So, he instead continues to look at ways he could possibly get people to come. But right now, he's not seeing very many options. So he decides to focus on the bigger problem, which is the political situation, even though he himself has admitted that he's not really cut out to be a politician. Turning to the others, he says, alright, so we have our options laid out, and we've discussed the pros and cons of each. Now what?
Well, I hate to sound like the closet tower that I am, but we wait for the senator to make the call. You know, after she stops making fun of me and thinking about her boyfriend, whom she still hasn't had introduced Muzan to the rest of the Nos. I mean...
Darling, do you really want to go there about who's sleeping who? Or do I need to bring up the boss and put it together?
But what do you think? Do we openly declare directly? Do we wait for Vu and Felix to declare? Do we back Serafino? I mean, there's no good decisions. With Carbonara in the upstairs bedroom, it gives us a level of safety. I mean, other than that little group that tried to break into the domain, the barony a couple of days ago, we're basically untouched.
Lord, what the amateurs they were. Anyway, what you're not realizing, the reason Seferino is so upset with Decibel
Isn't giving out information. All I know is
not that. Do you know what plan the woman he calls her is?
I mean, we've all heard the rumors.
Gabriel, yes. What is Seferino?
So, do you want us to dig into that before we make a decision on this?
I'm pretty sure, talking with Seferino and having known Seferino for quite some time, that the Decibel Blue pet is Seferino's child there. And he makes her jump through hoops like a trained sea lion. That was your child there. And somebody was leading them around on a fucking leash and making them do stupid pet tricks. How would you feel?
Well, I would feel
that.
But
So I think you're right. If we declare for Decibel, then Seferino will see us possibly as an enemy. But right now, lesser of two evils. But and actually, I don't think we have to actually declare anything. It's more about what is it in that PR image. What do we seem to be doing?
Oh, now that is some rose thinking right there.
Let people fill in the story as they must and make it so that it's unproven on either side. But let people see what it is they feel like they need to see. A friend if they need one, a villain otherwise. Though we'd rather be friends on both sides. Right? And she gives them all a wink.
So how do we paint that picture? How do we paint the picture that just metaphorically, let's say we try to paint the picture that we are planning to declare for Decibel without ever actually making any moves in that direction? Or that we are planning to help Serafino deal with her problem.
Looking good, Dia. Hey, boss man. I may have found something.
Ooh, a secret. I like it. Guys, you mind if I step away for a quick second?
Damn, darling, don't make me put a bellow on your neck. Don't do that again.
Of course
But it's
not.
what he's good at.
I just didn't want to scare any of your guests. You know, you got the mayor of South Holland sitting like 3 booths over there with the Chinese girl. She is Chinese. She may be Vietnamese, I'm not sure.
South what?
The mayor of South Holland. You know South Holland.
Yeah. Dancer. Your
Yeah.
voice is a little gravelly. I just needed a translation, not a definition.
Yeah, but well, they're the richest one of you suburbanites. All the same. So, Homewood may be the location. The only problem is there's a couple of old sort of gang holdouts out there.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, no, not so much for me. They can kind of track me, and that's the reason why I'm staying out of sight. I gotta disappear for a day or two. I'll see you in about a week.
We'll see you then.
You look great, Dia. You're not bad, Zach. Just not my type.
I have to try really hard not to laugh right now.
Don't worry, Zach. He says that to everyone he likes.
Well, what he says seems to depend on how much he likes you, because, the senator earned a lot more than okay.
Unfortunately, how much of his past or how much of his knowledge is he going to share with his coterie? Because Muzan knows that Homewood is about as dangerous as you can be and remain as quiet as it has. Homewood is the bastard child of Markham and Thornton. It split from Hazelcrest because they literally were too actual poor. It's so bad that Homewood, for all of its reputation of being the place where champions live and its local school being, a regional champion, it is in the last few years become second only to Harvey itself in regards to the natural threat that the kind face if they're on the wrong street at the wrong moment of the evening. Is one of the many reasons why the area is rife with independents and people who claim blocks instead of actual full-fledged domains. Because to hold a block in Homewood is akin to the skill it would take to hold a city.
That sounds like a great time.
Homewood is a pit. I mean, I've only dealt with it from the kind side of things. It's a pit.
So if I'm understanding this right, my friend and I are gonna have to take a brief visit over there.
Or a brief disappearance. Because at the end of the day, skilled or not, one person against a veritable village of would-be assassins, highwaymen, and land pirates.
Not to mention the mini princes.
Yeah, your odds are really good for you melting like a snowball the moment that it even thinks about hell.
So it might require a little bit of forethought, is what you're saying.
Nah. Fools rush in, remember that. Do it. Take a quick ride and pop up in Homewood. You can get there on the expressway in little under 10-15 minutes. And, just hop on the 94, circle down, or you can hop on the 90 and take that way over and get off at the interchange, down to 80 and just make your way south and west until the neighborhoods change. South and west until you can smell the victimization in the air. South and west into the land of the unknown. And you'll be almost there. When people start taking the wheels off your car while it's still moving, you'll know you've arrived.
Honestly, Muzan might do that tonight after this meeting, once we figure that out. Unless there is any indication that Urzuli's going to uphold her end of the bargain tonight.
Which bargain? She's made quite a few.
The fact that if I smile that she's going to introduce me to some people, apparently.
Oh, yes. Well, she has been working towards that end. And the scary part, and this is the part that now that you mention it and you actually are thinking about Urzuli, over the last few weeks, she's had quite a few visitors. No, nothing important, never, overstaying her welcome, but she's been using the Piscateers as her center of operations, as the heart of the Bahari nation. The various hundreds of churches spread out through Dalton and throughout the entirety of the south suburbs are part of Vu and Felix's network. And for all of their pretenses towards Christendom, neither one of them has spent any time near or around Urzuli since the night of the party. Yet, they've not come out against her either. And now the mayor of South Holland is sitting enjoying the lovely comforts of the Piscateers. South Holland, who is second only to Dalton As for the number of churches per capita, South Holland, the largest source of easily accessible cash from its denizens. South Holland, which is technically just outside of the boundaries of Dalton, but still within the boundaries of Thornton Township. South Holland, the place that Calabalarshi most recently ended their most powerful kindred, their eldest kindred, who held the city as his own princedom. And while Zach and Seth and Muzan and even Frost don't really have that politically minded aspirations, as head mother of an entire cult, as regional master of the Bahari as a whole, what better place to set up a megachurch or a network of churches that would provide you all that you lost in the gleaming crown jewel of the Camarilla seat of power? Or you guys could just be grasping at straws and none of that is actually real. Like anybody would spend 2 weeks dedicatedly rebuilding themselves. Like anyone who believed in a cause enough to be willing to wage war against Chicago as a whole would spend that time building themselves up, making contacts, and slowly working their way into a place of power. Nah, that couldn't be what's happening.
Didn't trust that culty bitch anyway. Look, we have personal matters and we have regional matters. Zach has to deal with the Rose. Muzan has to deal with home. Do we want to split our efforts or do we want to reconcentrate on the bigger picture?
Well, didn't Tony himself say if we don't work together, we're gonna fuck up?
I think he meant that more metaphorically in the grander scheme of things. Like, we don't each try to become a baron. Something like that. I think he likes us the way we are. I mean, I'm a little analytical. You're a little scavy. Zach's a little distracted. And Frost, well, Frost is Frost. But together we make a stronger whole. I think if we make those parts stronger in pieces, it'd be good for the whole. Zach has a problem with money and popularity. You have a problem with nobody knowing who the hell you are. I mean, those are the immediate problems we're facing. Those are the 1 week problems we're facing. The Decibel issue, the Serafina issue, I just can't really bring myself to call her. We're gonna have to come up with a better name. But that problem, those are 1 year problems. So what do we want to concentrate on today? The 1 week or the 1 year?
I suppose if we all beef ourselves up a little bit, it'll make things easier in the long run.
I mean, you guys all have going concerns. You have clan and bars and popularity and fucking titles. I had to close my office today. I'm just He is cabinet member right now, so I'm willing to go either way.
And then there's the course of a certain someone trying to sink his claws. And he shows the coterie the texts he's been receiving from Drew.
Oh, well, there's a clear and immediate vote to deal with the Zack problem first. How patient do you think Dancer would be?
Well, he's already gotta hide for a couple days, so I'd say he's got to be patient.
Well, now, I'm flattered that you all want to help, but I think my issue may be the least important.
It's not about importance so much as being seen to be doing a thing.
I see.
I mean, right now, it's like this crazy holding pattern. The Tremere are fortressing up. I mean, I could call Rich or Cone and maybe see what they're really doing, but we can't react to it openly or to give it away. And then, of course, there would be the immediate Seth ass whooping that happened afterwards, which I would prefer to avoid. But finding out how Drew is siphoning dollars and popularity away from you, that could be a fun night.
Plus, it helps you, which helps us, which helps the whole picture in the long run.
I mean, I'm not making any money right now, so might as well make you guys rich. Somebody's got to buy my whiskey.
That's the spirit.
Well, if we're talking about real spirits, y'all can buy me scotch. So what do you say, Zach? You gonna let Scabs McNabb over here and Grumpy Irish Boy give you a hand?
Wipe that smug, arrogant grin off of that bastard's face. My pleasure. As I've said before, I don't really care what happens to him anymore.
Yeah, we're just looking for why what's happening is happening, and what we can do to throw a monkey wrench in it. I mean, it strikes me that it's two Toreadors fighting over territory, right? You both have a similar product. I'm not much of a clubber, so I'm not a good judge, but I've seen you play, and I've seen the kind of place you put together. There's no reason why on a bad day it shouldn't be an even split, but you make it sound like it's definitely leaning towards what Drew's putting together. And we just got to figure out how he's changing the weight of the scales on that one.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past him to spread a few nasty rumors. But as to whether or not I can prove it, that's another matter.
We don't have to. I don't think we have to prove it. We just have to undo it. It's not like we're gonna be bringing this shit to a judge. We just have to see what he's doing, and then throw the biggest set of Sebo sandals we can into that motherfucker.
Problem is, he doesn't trust a single one of us. So who do we send to watch on him?
Well, one of us can be invisible. He doesn't really know me, and he wants to talk to you.
But I don't.
And of course,
But I don't trust myself to not be influenced.
well, there is that to consider. But we also have the illustrious senator. who's been doing nothing but making fun of me for the last 2 weeks. Drew can't say no to that.
Look back. I didn't mean to see Drew get his comeuppance. I never quite liked that little brat. That is the reason why I said we could move your club and make a new Rosie rather than bothering with that one. But since he wants to play Derby, I can play Derby.
There you go. We have a senator to turn the screws. We have you to be distracting. We have me to be sneaky, and for Muzan to check out what's going on in the wine cellar.
And just what sort of distraction would I be providing?
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, but Drew's reaction to your presence while the senator is standing there, I don't think he'd be playing his A game. Especially if we bring in tow juicy rumors about plans the senator might be having about declaring direct and formal support of maybe Decibel, maybe Serafino, but without any real clear definition. I think his little Tory mind would explode.
I'm liking this plan.
I was in politics in the Boston PD for 5 years. This plan is brilliant.
Well then, I suppose I should dress the part and put on my most mouth-watering and inspiring outfit.
And Zach can slut himself up a bit.
Which is a small matter for me.
And Muzan, big bonus, you get to mess with pretty people all night long.
Oh, joy.
You're gonna be invisible most of the time. You just get to mess with them. Don't be a whiner.
What? I was being genuine.
Dude, sarcasm is your first gear. I don't know what the other three have, but they scare me.
Speaking of fear, there is, without a shadow of a doubt, in the new normal of the domains and domain being set and settled, with Faustina McEwen's domain being the second of two bordered by Sephirinos, it is, without a shadow of a doubt, very much an incursion across the border. It is very much an incursion into someone else's full authority. And while Faustina has never been truly politically minded, her studies into the realms of the supernatural are the things of legend within the Chantry. She, through her various dark arts, have mastered several rituals that have caused all the stir. Yet she is very much not a member of the Chantry. This new change in authority, the rebels and the rabble and the unaligned being part of the independent nation of Thornton Township has caused a refocusing of her aims to protect what has been made hers, officially recognized. Faustina has in fact begun solidifying her borders in ways that make the skin crawl. Without properly being announced or invited, kindred feel as if there are eyes on their souls, as they feel as if there's something in their shadow. They feel as if right at the corner of their eye there is something, if they turn to look at it, will pounce them and devour all that there are. At least that's what the rumors state. So as you all get dressed for the nines, properly looking your robes, head of security, senator's cabinet members, you all make the trip into Faustina's domain, heading toward the Rosie. And the moment you touch down, the moment that the car eases to a stop and the hired livery of the staff member moving around to open the door for you all to exit, it is apparent by those staggering out, happily giggling, and the canned DJ'd music exiting, that while it very much is still rock inspired, while it very much is in appearance the Rosie, that things have changed. The neons are neater. There's more of a dramatically over-the-top rebelliousness that has been affixed to the facade. There's a smoking section that now has lounge chairs and seating made available, with everyone standing around and flicking their cigarettes. There is a valet out front, and the unmistakable stench of the devil's lettuce wafting and gently blowing, caressing the skin as you all arise. In the matter of a few weeks, some mind has put all of their efforts into ensuring that the counterculture ideologies of the Rosie have been magnified to the Disney-like epic proportions. It is over the top. It is inviting and repulsive in its attempt to capture as many of the wide audiences that pass. When I get
Seth takes a moment to try to help Zach not throw up.
That's just the most gaudy thing any of you have ever seen. It's like the man has never heard of subtlety.
Pulls their sunglasses to the end of their nose and looks at them. God, how terribly pedestrian could you get?
Seth makes every effort to look like the strong bodyguard behind Zach and Dia. So looking around aggressively at the crowd, making sure nothing gets too close to anybody, but not talking and not reacting to anything directed towards him. Only reacting to things directed towards Dia and Zach. And praying to God that Muzan remembers that he's invisible and should not be smacking people in the back of the head.
And as the door opens, the DJ has mashed together several classics, and the crowd is cheering and they're absent-minded paying attention. The doors swing open, the doorman looks you all up and down, gauging that you're old enough to be there, not even actually recognizing Zach. They hold the door open for you instead of pat you down for weapons or ensure that you at least are someone who's known. And you all move into the now Disney-fied version of the Rosie. You see that the bar is filled with various beach drinks, sugar, and drops of alcohol piled high with ice. The blenders behind the bar are going 2 and 3 at a time. There all manner of glitzy and glamorous bottle service being carried from the bars to the tables along the either wall, and the stage in the center of it, where there should be a minimum of a 4-piece band jamming out. There's a DJ with speakers large enough to hide 2 bodies in, The smoke machines are going full tilt, and while the music is still quantifiable as rock, it being canned and there's no true artistry, it is the equivalent of watching your child disavow you, to say to all of their friends and their teachers, no, that's not my daddy. The crowd is dirty and filthy, but in that sort of dirty and filthy way that you have to pay hundreds of, occasionally thousands of dollars per year to maintain. The well-coiffed hair, purposely styled to look ratty and overblown. The jeans, which cost easily some people's salary per week. The jewelry, amassed enough to pay for most of the entirety of the usual crowd's cabs for several months. The servers dressed in their black, clearly purchased from the Gap or Old Navy in bulk. Shiny bits of glitter here and there. Lashes long enough to curl and wave. In the matter of a few weeks, the Rosie has become the Rosie 2. And while it is clear that there is a bucket load of money being made by the minute as tabs are rung sky high with drinks that have enough alcohol to perhaps get a canary drunk, gone are the domestic beer bottles and the counterculture true style of the place. And you see Drew, his well-framed form, immaculate as ever, but instead of the leathers and edge, there's a two-piece, black on black, bright splash of blue from the shirt beneath. His pinky ring adorned with jewelry, and on his arm, well, didn't you fucking dump her?
Seth is following close behind Zach and Dia, but as they approach, he slows down to give them space to advance ahead of him.
And Zach is trying his damnedest not to just straight up rip Drew's hat off. And he has the look of composed anger, but the anger is very clear.
Would you be so kind as to roll your composure and performance
Against Frenzy. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would like to give Zach a 1-die boost because he is going to very carefully lean into the
Composure plus performance against Frenzy.
No, just composure plus performance.
I was being facetious.
Well, attempting to be.
Okay, that looks good.
You've done worse things. You've done things that have required more of your full concerted effort. You have, in the presence of your current coterie, have performed for veritable kings and queens of their domains. You have done the nigh impossible on several occasions. You've stood face to face with earthbound God. And those were all far easier than restraining the sheer, unabashed rage at watching what was yours and what you are still being paid for, which is the one thing that no one quite grabs. You haven't quite shared that aspect. All of this foppery, all of this fake, soulless, non-artistic drivel is adding money to your pocket. All of this bastardization of your dream is supporting you. Because even at 50% of what they make, actual profits, it still amasses the same as what you once would have taken a few months to accumulate in a few weeks. There's one thing shaking hands with the devil, there's another thing for him to reverse pickpocket you. And that's what this is.
Doug then turns to Dia and says, "Let's get this over with."
Seth lets the roses advance on their prey. Because his job isn't to protect anybody, really. If Drew starts anything, Zach's going to eat him raw. But he's going to establish himself as muscle. So about 4 feet away from the booth, looking out at the crowd. He's going to be looking for unusual aspects. He knows the kine are vapid. He knows kine are easily brought in. But he's looking for anything unusual that would cause this many people to be this stupid for this long and pay that much to do it.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus...
God damn it.
Really?
I don't even know what my wits are, but I'm at my wits' end.
Fair enough. We will definitely take that. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus either streetwise or larceny? Muzan, would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus stealth or your wits plus streetwise?
I don't suppose black market's going to help me at all as a specialty?
No, not currently.
Would ambushes help me?
Not exactly. So give it a roll, get as high as you possibly can. And while you two are handling those die rolls, Zach, Dia, as you approach the booth where Drew, the man, the myth, the legend, the god of this local domain, sits with his arm candy that Zach has known the taste of. How are you all approaching? What are you attempting to do? What are your intentions?
Dia comes back very quietly, like she was attempting to do earlier, but it says, "Remember, if you are still passionate about somebody, that means you still care. What you want is for them to realize you give not one fuck about them. And for that, calm is required. If you care nothing for somebody, it hurts you far more. Because then they know they can't goad you into a reaction. Do you think you can pull that off, or do you need me to take the lead in it?"
I will try to maintain my cool, but there may be a point where you may have to intervene.
As Drew is whispering into the ear of the server, his view towards you is blocked. However, Sasha, enjoying being the dame of the ball, pats him to the point where it is clear that she's putting far more oomph into it than she possibly could need. As if in that small bit, that small moment, every bit of pain is something that she can take pleasure in. He finally gently shoves the waitress away and looks in your direction, his eyes brightening, his smile moving from ear to ear, and the attention to stand clear. But Sasha wraps her arms around him, holding him in the seat, and simply waves offhandedly.
What I am going to do in response to this, to make sure that nobody is looking at Sasha, I'm going to throw up awe.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Which okay, just go ahead and roll your charisma plus presence for me. And while that's happening, Zach, seeing that reaction, is there anything that you would be attempting or intending to do?
Zach decides to adopt a cold indifference, as if he really doesn't care at all about it. All about Drew or Sasha, one or the other.
Yes. Okay. Well, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma plus your performance? And while that is happening, we get Dia's roll. And while those rolls are taking place, and the look of clear appreciation is dancing on Drew's face as he quizzically looks to Sasha, then back to Zach. Muzan, there are certain signs that every addict knows. There are certain telltale small bits of nothing that usually filter past those people who have never had the opportunity of giving themselves wholly over to their passion and having it take full control on their lives. As a former adrenaline junkie, as a former mindless devourer of lives, you know the touch of addiction, though yours was for violence and the routing of lives. You know it when you see it. You smell it. Someone wholly in the grips of their own demons. And looking at the faces of those you pass and easily ear hustling the conversation, and watching that the bartenders are not pouring full pours. However, each of the liqueurs that they use, each of the mixers they use are in unmarked decanters. There's no doubt in your mind that there is something else afoot. There is some kink in the mink. There is a fox in the henhouse. Something less than scrupulously above board is happening with all of those sugary, disgustingly made drinks. And while that... Go on.
Muzan has the Bloodhound merit.
Oh.
Would he... I'm going to just say it, based on your description, I'm suspecting that there might be some vitae spiking going on. Would that let him smell that in the drinks?
Well, Bloodhound is more for the resonances, the feelings of the humors of those humans that are abounding. And there's no doubt in your mind, based on the level of parfums and actual perfumes in the air, mixed with the sweat and the emotion-tinged emanations of the crowd, that there is not one human in this building that is not sanguine in nature. There's not one human in this building that is not borderline insensate with the lovely, happily feelings these drinks inspire in them.
Muzan is going to be throwing up his unseen passage and he's gonna try and get close enough to actually like sniff out one of the drinks and maybe give it like a quick taste, just like a single drop. See if he could make out something.
Excellent. We will come back around to Muzan's efforts at being what he is, a very sneaky and capable espionage agent. And while that's happening, would you roll your dexterity and stealth from your DC is going to be 4. And while that's happening, and while you're off and running, Seth, people are never this happy. People are never this involved in the party. Your nerves are on edge because most eyes seem to be focused on Dia. Most eyes seem to be focused on your booth. And that in and of itself is not the problem, but you know that there are 2 to your left. 3 on the upper balcony, which last time you were here was literally just stairs up to a wooden platform so you can look down on a band. They've been redecorated and godified to the point where they actually are balconies. There's no, drunken frat boys leaning against the railing, watching and yelling and screaming Freebird. There are couples and people who want to be seen and noticed without being seen and noticed. Bottle services are being carried up. Huge magnum opuses of various liqueurs carried up the creaky stairs, which have been remodeled and carpeted so that it looks as if you are ascending into heaven. And it's not the eyes focused on Dia that catch you. It's not the people focused on the center booth, the position of power that bother you. It's that there are quite a few faces and quite a few people who are purposely not looking in that direction.
Oh, those are my people. I'm going to inspect the ones that aren't looking, the ones that are seemingly making an effort not to inspect Dia and Drew's booth. They're the unusual ones, and those are the ones he cares about.
Are you going to leave Dia and Zach?
I am going to make a move towards, if I can find like where 2 of those types are together, the resistant ones, I'm going to move towards them. But in the back of my head, I'm also itching with the idea of you don't go to a bar with Kine and not have at least 1 or 2 people sitting in a corner just pounding drinks out of anger or sadness or some other emotional trigger. But there doesn't seem to be a single one of those in this bar.
Not a one.
That's bothering him as well. But these people who are able to resist trying to impress or trying to be noticed, those are the ones that concern him as a protector of the senator. So he wants to be closer to a couple of those. So him, his trench coat, and his scowly cop face are going to add a little more distance between Drew's booth and himself so he can scope those out with a cop eye a little more nefariously.
Injury to insult. As you all sit, as you all make your appearance and your presence known, most of the eyes of the place clearly and easily falling on you. The insult of it all, and the true dagger in Zach's beating artistic musician's heart, is that Drew's booth, which is a new addition, is set so that the position of power, while facing the door, has its back to the stage. As guests to the booth, you all have the opportunity of seeing the stage and watching the performance. Not that there's much to watch happening as the DJ bobs and dips his head, one hand on the headphones that are clearly not plugged in and clearly not wireless, but have neon light strung around them so that you get the idea and image that he's actually listening to sound ahead of time. But for all of his mixing and scratching, the track doesn't change. His mixing and scratching is just for show. This is a pre-recorded mashup that he's already put together, a playlist that he's already had in mind, not knowing what the flow and feel of the crowd is. Not only is he not a musician, not only is he barely a performer, he clearly is not adaptive nor reactive enough to actually even care enough about his art to be live in the moment with all of his recorded and canned music. So you settle, and Drew reaches his hand, or starts to reach his hand across the table, and Sasha wraps her hand around his. It's so good to see you, Zach. Drew frowns and looks at her and looks back. I'm glad that you responded to my text. Senator, it's a pleasure to see you. It isn't it?
Oh, listen, because I don't think you guys even really remember Sasha all that much. He looks at Sasha, and who are you again?
She says this to Sasha.
Yeah.
I'm the woman that got away from Zach.
Take a number. Zach has met many lovers as long as I've known them.
Yes, well, I'm the one that is now queen of the Rosie 2. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've heard so much about you, Senator. Why aren't you a little far from your domain in Dalton?
The true queen goes where they fucking want. It doesn't need one little club to be queen of. True. I see you make some changes. Quite interesting choice.
Yes. Yes, there have been some changes, but, progress. And with Zach spreading the word that they'd enjoy having full control of the Rosie and it was moving, I thought that this, unfortunately, cartoon version of the Rosie would help in making sure that the Rosie was as successful as it once was.
So you don't even believe in the direction that you've taken this place in, and it doesn't quite deserve to be called the Rosie at all, now does it?
Well, it still is the Rosie 2 based on its location, but the only way to make sure that the Rosie was at least properly moved is to distance what the Rosie 2 actually was. I don't have the artistic passion for the 70s music. I don't have the passion for this either, but being, as Sasha hit on the great idea of delivering what the people think they want instead of what they actually might want, we were hoping that in the change that the Rosie, even with its move to Dalton, would be just as successful. You'd be able to keep the same crowd. I know that our time together, Zach, hasn't been exactly the easiest, but Lothair has surprisingly taken your side in every moment of our conversation. He has illuminated all of the many ways that I, in my love for you, perhaps shielded you from too much of the world. He's shown me that no matter how much I honestly... Will you stop, Drew? I've heard enough of you belly aching and crying over Zach. He wasn't the one that you beat. He wasn't the one that you threatened to stake. Him and you, well, clearly you weren't as passionate as you think. He left you and then spread word about you not being enough or artistic enough. Zach did this. And even with all that you all shared, even with all of you trying to kill me and him not helping.
I don't remember saying anything of the sort.
Really? You didn't say, according to... Who was that? Were you speaking to, Drew? Tasha, please. Well, no, being as you won't go into detail and you don't want to be honest, you want to be all lovey-dovey and say how much you care for him, then just fucking say that. And don't say that, this is because of Drew. This is because of me. No, you wanted it successful enough that the money might lure him back. And it is successful enough, isn't it? Because of me. Because I'm the one that you all drove out of our throuple. And you say you didn't say that, Zach, but Celino says that you did. During the party where you two were less than 50 feet from each other, you didn't share any time at all together, did you? And Drew, brokenhearted, talking to me on Snapchat, his eyes all for you, and you couldn't even look in his direction. You know what? I'm going to get a drink. You all hash this out because I know you guys are going to be butt buddies all over again. But remember, I'm the one that made the Rosie 2 more successful. I'm the one keeping you all in the silk sheets you all so adore. And she gets up and
You
storms
keep
off.
telling yourself that. He says this under his breath, not out loud.
You know how she can be. And despite all of the supposed cold blue blood in her veins, she actually does miss what we had. It was her, she's right. It was her idea to make the Rosie 2 successful enough that you, no matter what happened with the Rosie, no matter what happens with the Rosie, can still operate. You can still have your full amount of resources. You can still know that even if it's not exactly what it once was, it's in good hands. I'd say I'm sorry, but that's just not enough. I'd say I miss you, but that's not enough. I know you're doing better with the Senator, and that you're learning more about what we are without me being there. So when you're done learning, when you're done understanding the monsters that we can be and all of the political stuff, I'll be here with Sasha in hell, waiting for you to let me back into your heaven.
Here, Zach casts a look to Dia, and back to Drew. Oh no, different people have different ideas of what heaven and hell are like.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, of course, there's purgatory.
Yeah, no, I made my decision. And it was wrong. It was wrong of me to keep you from knowing more about what we are. It was wrong of me to only half educate you. And it was wrong of me to almost kill Sasha. But I'm trying to make amends. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to do better. And it's the reason why this cartoony version of the idea of the dream of what Rosie could be. Sasha has been a real godsend in regards to getting this up and moving and making sure that it's successful enough to keep the people coming in and booking talents and hiring staff, and only thing you have to do is show up and play a part of king. And it's hell. I sit here in these ridiculous clothes watching these ridiculous people drink themselves into oblivion. And the only thing I can think about, the only thing that keeps coming to mind is, even with all this pain that I'm forced to look on, and it's not enough because I did you wrong and I didn't mean to. I only had the best in mind. I didn't want you to hate your sire the way that I hate mine. I didn't want you to be emotionally abused into serving the tower. I didn't want you to bend your knee to anybody. I just wanted you to love just me. And that selfishness was wrong. It was misplaced. It was childish. And as much as I despise Lothair, as much as I despise Asia for trying as hard as he did, he was right. He was always right. Leaving people to make the choices of their own and just simply being willing to be there for them is all that we have. Trying to force you into loving just me, trying to force you to be just unaligned and just one of the rabble and espousing freedom wasn't enough. It was wrong of me not to properly educate you. And his eyes glistened, the corners filling with vitae-tinged tears, unshed, held in place by some invisible strength of will to keep from ruining the shirt that he clearly is the only thing that he actually enjoys. And its deep, vibrant bloom causing his eyes to dance all the brighter, the shade to stand out even in the darkness of the club. Even in the gaudiness, there is some element of the truth behind the Clan of the Rose. Doing the best with what you have, seeking the most artistic version of whatever pablum you are involved with, seeking that true essence of your idea of beauty. And speaking of beauty, as you ease close enough to the bar to catch a sight of those unmarked decanters, the whiff that emanates from them is sin, liquid, distilled elixir of sin. This is all poisoned by vitae. It's not strong enough to trigger that need for a dirty sip. It is none thick and rich enough to cause the nose hairs to tingle and the fricative palate to vibrate with need, but it very much is vitae being apportioned and mixed into those drinks, just enough to give a hint of the kiss, just enough to keep those humans drinking these poisoned gobbets of nothingness, happy, elated, on the verge of ecstasy, clamoring for more. So with your stolen bit of knowledge, Muzan, what is it that you are attempting to do?
So, can you just repeat one thing to me? What exactly was in it that was causing this, or has Muzan not figured that out yet?
There's just enough vitae to trigger that supernatural response, to trigger a hint of the kiss, to magnify the potency of nearly any alcohol that these humans are drinking. But it's not enough vitae there to count for that need for a dirty sip. It is not enough vitae there to cause that need to drink deeply for you as a member of the kindred. But it is enough there to trigger that almost kiss to keep people coming back.
I suppose his next goal is going to be finding the source, and he's going to take a page out of McLaren's suggestion and go to the cellar.
It takes a few blind alley turns down the staff-only portion, which is clearly an addition to the building. The stairs leading down in several places lead down solely to what should be a beer cooler. And it's only once you get there that you realize that all the beer is upstairs in the coolers. There shouldn't be anything down here. And the lock on the door The lock on both doors that you found leading into the beer cooler, the walk-in that looks big enough to encapsulate roughly 3/4 of the floor above, is curious. Not that locks have kept you out before, but being as invisibly unnoticed as you are, any action that is overt enough to smash the lock or even in some cases pick the lock would cause you to be visible.
What kind of security do they have down here?
Drunken girls getting lost on the way to the bathroom, drunken men deciding that fuck that, they can piss on the stone floor anyway.
No cameras, alarms, or anything? Or is it literally just like a regular lock, not like a electric lock or anything like that?
No, just a regular lock.
And how many people exactly are down here?
Roughly one every 3.5, 4 minutes will stagger down. Instead of making it to that right turn into the hallway toward the bathrooms, they'll think that it's downstairs and come stumbling down those stairs.
So in one of the moments where there's no one there, he's gonna just activate where is it? Hold on. He's just gonna use Uncanny Grip and just rip the lock off and then quickly go inside.
Okay. Could you do me a quick favor here? Roll your strength and stealth, and it will be a contested roll to see that you time it absolutely perfect.
Okay, give me 1 second. I think it requires a rouse check as well. Hold on. And what was the roll again?
Strength and stealth.
Ooh, that's a good roll for me.
Fate is on your side. The rending of metal and it shearing off as if you're tearing through paper does not attract enough attention in enough time to have anyone coming just to look around the corner. No one runs in screaming, "Nothing!" And you make it inside the cooler. Now, there's one thing that you know amongst the several ways to kill a person, the several ways of ending a life. You know wrong when you see it. You have been, over the course of your own life, exposed to far more of wrong than most others, than most other kindred who have survived as long as you have. And as you step inside and see the squat little Asian man whose hair stretches long enough that it touches his knee, carving sigils into the cold, dead flesh of those kindred hung, the fact that their hearts are beating and that you can see it from the forceps used to hold and the rib spreaders used to hold their chest open, you know that these humans are not human. And they're not kindred enough where they stop bleeding when cut open. And the cold having its effect, the goose flesh raised over their arms and legs and torsos, and surprisingly mangled and misshapen nether regions. Their eyes rolled to the back of their head. And the old man looks up towards you, and you realize that the locked door wasn't truly locked. It was all part of the mask of this place, because he could have easily exited out of either door had he chose, as well as the door at the back of the cooler, which leads into what you can only imagine is a sleepover room. There's a cot with a threadbare blanket, a pillow with several silk pillow covers on it, some with dragons and tigers. It's clearly not something that he owned, but was in fact given to him. And then you see the chain wrapped around his ankle. to the post in the center of the sleepover room. The fact that there's no bucket for waste and no food lets you know that, much like the humans bleeding freely from the chains across the ceiling, that he, too, is not a member of the actual living. And he looks at you, far too tired to do anything more. I'm not finished yet. This batch sure surprisingly hardy. Go tell your master that it will be enough for tonight, but just enough.
Oh, I'm not here for him.
Him? Your master is a him? But Sasha is the queen here. Who are you?
Name's Muzan. Pleasure to meet you. What's your name?
Larry.
So, you mind explaining me what the fuck's going on here?
No, this is no business of yours. You should leave.
Why?
She will have me do this to you, and, well, no offense, but your face makes the blood taste not necessarily that good. Ugly face, beautiful soul makes very untasty vete. The chi is harder to separate.
She? Wait a minute, you one of them, what the fuck you call them? Cathians?
Doctors. I am a doctor. I have healed many over the course of my long, long life.
Oh, you call this healing? And he gestures to the, various meat bags hung from the ceilings.
If not for my work, they would have expired, perhaps, a week and a half ago. Perhaps sooner. Sasha can be very thorough in her exsanguination of her prey. And these are thin blood, what do you care? Your kind doesn't care for thin blood, so why should it be an issue? I'm keeping them alive as long as I can so that we may extract all that we might. It is quite profitable for Sasha.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure you're really enjoying your work here as Muzan picks up the chain.
There's a cost to the sins that we have done. This is my penance. You should leave. I don't want to do this to someone so hideous.
Do you want to be here or no? Just answer that question.
Are you foolish? No one wants to be in the middle of paying a debt. But it is a debt that I owe, so I will pay it, and then eventually maybe the Yama Kings will come for my soul and take me while I die for the day, but otherwise, my debt will be paid. Now, leave before someone else finds you. Sasha likes to taunt me periodically. She is late for her 10 o'clock taunting.
If I were to just break this chain here, you wouldn't make a run for it? Is that what you're saying?
Do you think me without honor? Do you think that I'm what do you call it, a vulture? No, I have a debt to pay. As long as Sasha lives and is protected by the spells of my master, I will pay my debt. But I will help you on your way. I'm sure you are here from some espionage attempt. That bottle there is almost full. You can take the one next to it. It is one of the previous batches. You will enjoy it enough to forget your efforts or maybe make your money back from it. Tremere they make vete wine and whiskey, but this is distilled essence of what it means to be undead. It is potent enough to perhaps even work on someone such as yourself.
Duly noted.
Don't drink it all in one night. The repercussions may last for a few weeks. Sip, my friend, sip.
Muzan is going to take the bottle he suggested. Hey, you listen. You ever get out of here? Look me up.
Muzan, I will do my best. But for your sake, don't anger Sasha. She has people protecting her now. Just give her leeway. Say yes, queen. Or however it is you children say it, yes, queen. I believe that is the correct phrase.
I ain't one of these modern fuckers.
I like that, modern fuckers. And he goes back to carving the sigils into the flesh to ensure that the vitae flows and it is moving from the catheter tubes into different vials and being distilled as you watch. If you had time, it would be quite the show watching the vitae leave the body in its congealed solid form almost, its sweet nectar, and moving through one vial into the next, multiplying, expanding in bubbles, and slightly changing color from its reddish hue to a slightly bluer one, and moving back across the fire into, well, its final, almost clear form. While upstairs, moving closer to the couple that you locked eyes with in that cop way of never looking directly at anyone but seeing everything. And as you take a step in their direction, the woman moves towards the door. The man moves back past you towards the restroom. It is clear not only have you been made, but they are just as watchful as you suspected. As they break apart and move separating, you, by force of habit, Seth, begin scanning the area once more without directly locking eyes with anyone in that very cop way. And you see that the gentleman who had been most clearly in line of sight with them moves to a better vantage point so that if push came to shove and he had to draw down, he'd have a clearer shot at just you.
So I've managed to identify the tell of the in-house security. Death is going to be fucking obnoxious at this point. He grins at the solo that's repositioning and points at the couple that split up. So he makes it very clear to the one person that's actually paying absolute attention to him that he's seen all 3 points of contact. And goes back to, steps back into his position a few, like 6 feet from Drew's booth. Far enough away he can't hear, close enough that he can be there if needed. But he's discovered what he wanted to know, and he's letting the one guy that was setting up for the bullet in the back know that he knows. So they're speaking the same language, as it were. Also forcing that asshole to reposition again because he moved. He's trying really hard not to smirk. He's failing.
Smiling like the cat that got the canary, having detected those 3 members of the security team, a troubling thought settled in. They're not protecting Drew. The Overwatch is watching the bar, but he only moved into position to take a shot when you moved further from Drew, not when you moved back into position close enough to actually do anything to Drew. You notice that in your motions away from Drew, you moved closer to the bar, inadvertently closer to Drew's queen, who is speaking with the bartender in a hushed tone, her hands moving as if she's waving off an annoying cloud of 1,000 flies. speaking so rapidly that bits of her fangs show. She's excited. She's happy. And you also see that there's clearly a skim operation in the offing. Money is put into 2 separate bags. One, which is put into a lockbox. The other is put into a backpack. And she does this again with the other bartender and then the other bartender. And then she takes the backpack and she moves towards the office. The lockbox stays there, like all good deposits should. Something secure, sturdy, to hold the money, the overflow cash. Yet the backpack disappears into the office. And when she comes back, it is clearly, easily, £1.5 pounds, 2 pounds lighter. She sets it back behind the bar. And she looks at her watch. And it's almost 10 o'clock. Actually, it's closer to 10:05, 10:10. It's almost as if a light goes on as if she's forgetting something, maybe a pot boiling on some stove. She begins moving away from the bar towards the steps leading down past the restrooms.
This is the one downside of being the strong silent type. Bouncer, bodyguard, cover is that there's no good way to draw attention. But he makes a valiant attempt. I'm assuming Sniper Boy, when he sees Seth retreat, he maintains his position to cover the queen.
Mm-hmm.
So Seth takes advantage of this newfound knowledge and turns to the booth with Dia and Zach and nods his head.
And just like that, the apology is extended. The offer of when you're ready, not if, but when you're ready to accept him back, or at least accept him into your life in a new way, is there on the table between you both. Dia, you've witnessed many things over the course of your life. A heartfelt, honest apology is a rarity, especially amongst the undead. And then Seth sticks his head into the booth, nodding.
Zach is still doubting the sincerity of this apology, so what roll would I need to make to detect a lie?
Yeah.
What's plus subterfuge?
Alrighty. It's subterfuge.
Truly flawed by your outpour of emotion. It was beautiful to watch. But the reason you came here this evening is not only to check on your progress, mind you, but there is also the fact of a text message that our young Zach got from your queen, is it?
It's very hard. I know it's... I'm sorry. I know that I should be a person of my word and be keeping my distance, because it's clear that you don't want me in your life right now. But it's hard, and I have weak moments, and that's the reason why I text. That's the reason why I don't even call, because I know that it was wrong of me to try to get you to come back and talk to me. It's wrong to force you to be willing to accept my apology before you're ready, especially as I mean it. So forgive my text. I have moments of weakness. Sasha, for all of her business sense, I realized when I tried to kill her and we had our last night together, that I don't think that I've actually ever loved her. I don't think that, if not for you, she would have ever been in my life. And as much money as she's managed to train the staff to bring into us, as much effort as she has put forth to make sure that the Rosie 2 is successful enough to keep us supported, I like her fine. But in some moments, I swear that there's this little demon of jealousy and envy sitting right behind her eyes, plotting on how best to stake me when I sleep. It's one of the reasons why I insisted that we have separate bedrooms to entertain, unlike our shared bedroom we used to have, Zach. And while we still party occasionally and pick a few of the less drunken revelers, it's not the same. And he collapses, puts his hands over his eyes, and holds his face, clearly working on composing himself enough to not begin shedding tears and otherwise trying to emotionally manipulate you. That's what comes natural to certain people. And straining against his own natural inclinations.
Oh, you're unloved. If you stay here for that, why stay? Let her have this place. Leave.
No. Zach built this with us. I wouldn't. I can't. And even though he thinks that it's better having a separation, I know that it's not. This was his.
Obviously not anymore. That bitch has put her paws all over it and made it her own. She's obviously running this place, not you. Am I correct? You barely want to be here.
There's nowhere else for me.
You poor lost puppy. Zach, are you ready to go yet? I'm bored. Seth wants us to leave. Apparently there's something going on.
Oh, obviously. Yes, let's go for now. And Zach reaches his arm towards Diaz as if asking permission to lock him.
She takes the arm and loops her hand through it, looking back at you. If you come to your senses and need help getting away from your stalker, reach out. We might be able to help you. Until then, please leave Zach's number alone, or I will change it and you won't know what's there. Bye. And walks Zach through the curtain towards Seth, so they can leave.
Like all good plans, it comes together at the end. And as you all are moving out of the door, Muzan clone falls in the midst of you all. While most people wouldn't realize you all making the way in the center of you all for him. That way he didn't have to open or push open any doors or push past anyone. There you all are, exiting the Rosie 2, leaving it to its own devices, holding secrets amongst yourselves, and the reality that its figurehead, its owner, Drew, is still madly in love. That Sasha is still madly jealous of what Drew and Zach shared, and that the Rosie 2 is far more successful than it should be. With that and conversations yet to be had, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely session, and I will see you all next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Sweet Jesus, Zach.